All right, gang, it looks like we are live. Come on in, one and all. Come on in. Sure, you can come on in live and all. Come on in, gang. Great to see all of you. It is Live Stream Friday. I am Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, helping to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe. We've got so much to talk about today. Super chats are up, so send me your questions. I'll answer them at the end of the video. And today, oh my, we got a huge bombshell developing. We got word that a Trump-DeSantis dream ticket is already set. The agreement has already been made. It's huge for Trump. It's huge for DeSantis, who's going to win easily 2 terms after Trump's one term, his second term. We've got news on that. We've got Axios reporting on the radical ultra MAGA agenda that Trump is already making plans for in his second term. The leftists over at Axios are utterly panicked over this. I'm going to share that with you. I got it right here. They're interviewing Democrats who are in the know. They see what Trump is doing. He's amassing his forces to absolutely go full animal on the deep state and when he gets back into office in January 2025. All that and more, gang, plus answers to your questions on Live Stream Friday here at Turley Talks. First and foremost, for all you gold and silver patriots out there, you know who you are. You love the timeless value of silver and gold, particularly in this insane economy. If you think it through, silver and gold has seen insanity like this over and over again over the last several thousand years, and yet it's there to constantly retain its value and grow in its value. Well, a huge shout out to all you guys from our good friends over at Goldco. You've apparently been ringing their phones off the hook, and they couldn't be more excited to serve you. If you don't know, make sure to just click on that link right below in the comments section, and you're going to find that, or actually in the description section there, and you can go and visit their website. Goldco is a Patriot Gold company that specializes in helping you find out how you can protect your retirement with the trustworthiness of gold and silver, particularly in these crazy and insane economic times. They're so awesome. They're going to give you up to $10,000 in free silver when you open up an account. That's how much they want you to succeed. They're one of us, gang. But that is a limited time offer, so don't wait. Click on that link below. I think if you click, it goes right onto a separate window, right? So you can continue to watch this video while you check out what they're doing as well. Or you could go to my special website, turleytalkslikesgold.com, and keep those phones ringing off the hook. All right, gang, let's dive right in. So, if you haven't heard, Robert Barnes was a guest on Alex Jones' show the other day, and my did he turn some heads with a bombshell revelation. Now, according to Barnes, a Trump-DeSantis dream ticket has already been solidified for 2024. The deal is apparently done. All right, it's already been agreed to by all parties involved, and the only thing is it just has yet to be formally announced. Now, Barnes was talking about Trump potentially. The context for this was that Trump will potentially announce his candidacy before the midterms, which Barnes thinks is an excellent strategy. Because at one level, it doesn't matter what Trump does, because the red wave that's rising is just so huge. It's so immense. Let me see. Hold on a sec, gang. Why I don't have, for some reason, I'm not seeing the super chats going on or the comments. Hey, Josh, who's moderating, can you see what's going on there? My super chats are not coming out here. Anyway, just make sure you check on that. So something seems to be going on there. But I'm assuming we're going and we're rocking and rolling. I'm not seeing anything on my end. So, Josh, that's just a little technical note for our moderator there. So there's nothing the Democrats really can do to stop this red wave. J6 hasn't worked. Overturning Roe hasn't worked. Dems are doing everything they can to try to find an issue that's giving them some momentum, and it's not happening. They're trying to make Trump into the bad guy. Isn't going to work. For heaven's sakes, I don't know if you've seen this. The latest Trafalgar poll that just came out, a head-to-head matchup between Trump and Biden. Trump is leading by 5 points, 48 to 43. And that fits with an Emerson poll that shows Biden losing to Trump by 3. So we're getting all these polls coming in. Remember, these are aggregate polls. So these are not state by state electoral polls, which are the ones you really want to focus on, where even in the aggregate, Trump and Biden could be evenly split, or Biden could be up by 3, but Trump is clobbering him at the electoral college level because he's beating him in Ohio and Wisconsin and Iowa and Michigan and Pennsylvania and the like. No, these polls by Trafalgar, these are polls that include the coastal elite populations like of California and all, and New England. I mean, this is amazing stuff. These are aggregate polls, and Trump is clobbering Biden. So Barnes' argument is that if Trump announces his candidacy before the midterms, it's not going to affect the red wave in the least, and Trump could go into the 2024 campaign on a high, taking credit for the massive wins among populists like J.D. Vance and Doug Mastriano and Blake Masters all across the nation. And Alex Jones certainly agreed with that assessment for sure. Let me see. I might have a note from my moderator here. Do you have a note, Josh? Josh, help me out. I could see him on my end. All right, so you guys are seeing them. Very, very good. All right, I'm not seeing the comments. So if I'm unusually silent in my interaction with you guys, it's for some reason I'm not getting the live stream comments. I have no idea. But my moderator, Josh, is getting them. And so if you have any questions, just put them in the super chat, and we'll answer them at the end. We'll put them all together. So, all right, so Alex Jones is all like, cool, this is great. So who's going to be Trump's running mate? And Barnes said that he's got inside info that has already been decided. It's a done deal. And Trump's running mate is Ron DeSantis. It's the dream ticket, Trump DeSantis 2024. And again, there's a fascinating rationale for this. DeSantis knows that Trump can only run one term, right? He's going to be fulfilling his second term. He's constitutionally limited. So with just that, DeSantis is going to be a radically unique vice president. He'll be able, in many respects, to be a kind of co-president. He'll be put in charge of implementing a massive ultra-MAGA agenda for the nation, which we're going to talk about in a bit from this Axios report. They're panicking over the ultra-MAGA agenda that Trump already has, is already putting into place. Remember, he's been running a shadow government now. Even CNN has admitted that. He's been running a shadow government now since 2021. This is already in place to go fully in effect on January 20, 2025. Now, Axios is reporting that Trump and the ultra-MAGA GOP are going to be literally going full animal on the deep state in a way that's not happened in a century. You're going to absolutely love it. So anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So DeSantis will be seen as already a kind of executive in chief, and he'll be more likely than any other vice president, I think, in our nation's history, to secure 2 consecutive terms. It's very hard after 2 terms with one president for the vice president to go on and secure another 2 terms. Very, very. George Herbert Walker Bush was only able to eke out 1 term. It's hard after you're an administration that's been in power for 12 straight years. DeSantis would be running for his second term after only 8 straight years of a single administration. Trump serving 4 and DeSantis serving 4 in his first term. So he would be poised to easily win re-election, and we'll have 12 full years of ultra-MAGA rule over the nation, which Steve Bannon, of course, is arguing will serve the foundation for an ultra-MAGA dominance for the next 100 years, right? You guys know that. Again, I wish I could see the comments here, because I think some of you know what Bannon's appealing to. What is Bannon appealing to when he says that ultra-MAGA is going to rule for the next 100 years? He's appealing to something called fourth turning theory, right? I know a lot of you know that comes up in some of the questions that I get often. The fourth turning is it's a cyclical theory on how history moves in predictable patterns based on generations. So the fourth, and Steve Bannon is a huge proponent of this, the fourth turning is the notion that history basically moves in generational waves, right? Marked by relatively predictable changes every 20 years or so, corresponding to the next generation coming of age in mass, as it were. Passing their 18th birthday, right, entering into adulthood. So every 20 years, and what the theory argues is that the end of every fourth cycle of this generational pattern, about every 80 years, 80 to 100 years, right, there's a massive societal and political and cultural crisis, sound familiar, that ushers in a new political order and the restarting of the next wave of cycles. So this is why Bannon often says that MAGA-loving patriots are going to be ruling for the next 100 years. We're in a tumultuous fourth turning, fourth generational cycle, the upheaval of which will usher in a new political paradigm for the next successive 4 generations, for the next 80 to 100 years. And then there'll be another political paradigm to replace that in their own crisis and the like. So according to Bannon, the current liberal global order, right? You heard Biden's economic advisor talk about it. The liberal world order that we're supposedly defending via Ukraine. The liberal world order began in 1946, after the end of World War II. That massive crisis, world crisis, ushered in a new global paradigm that we're approaching the 80-ish year mark with. And so now, according to the cyclical theory, now things are predictably shifting, with ultra MAGA coming out as the new paradigm that will rule for the next 80 to 100 years. So anyway, that's Bannon's take. So according to Barnes, the agreement has already been made. It's a Trump-DeSantis 2024 ticket. It's a dream ticket. It's going to absolutely unify the Republican Party. It's going to radically attract independents who've abandoned Biden. Biden is getting his lowest poll numbers, aside from Republicans, obviously. Bannon is getting his lowest numbers from independents. He's only polling around 19% among independents, which means he's unelectable. I mean, right? If you've lost Republicans and you've lost independents, you're unelectable. So this is why the New York Times, right now, holding an article here by Michelle Goldberg, the New York Times has come out and basically told Biden he needs to step aside. He cannot win 2024. I mean, when I first saw this July 11th, I could not believe it when I saw this. The New York Times itself is telling Sleepy Joe it's time if you can't ride a bike, you can't govern a nation, okay? Now, I've been arguing that all of this negative press, I've been arguing this now for the last several months, all this negative press on Biden, questioning his health, particularly his cognitive health, his electability and all that. All this press focusing on which Democrat could replace Biden in 2024, all of this. These articles aren't so much descriptive as they are prescriptive, right? In other words, these articles are written, of course, by ultra-leftists disguised as journalists. They're telling the Democrats that they need to find someone else. Right? They're not describing events. They're dictating them. They're dictating the events. The mainstream media is prescribing what the Democrats need to do. And they need to get rid of Biden. Even the Times is saying this now. So Biden has lost independents and he's lost Latinos. Latinos continue to abandon the Democrats in droves. I got a new poll here. I don't know if you've been following this election. This is a House election for New York District 3. And it's amazing. It's been held by Democrats forever, well, at least for the last decade or so, because of redistricting and so forth. It's become very, very blue. It's about to turn red. It's about to flip red, and it's flipping red via a Latino candidate, a fellow by the name of George Santos. And the latest internal poll that just came out, Santos is ahead of his Democrat opponent by 11 points, by double digits. So he's leading the Democrat by double digits in a district that's been solid blue in New York for over a decade, and is about to get flipped by another hardcore Latino ultra MAGA Republican. I mean, this is amazing stuff. And of course, a DeSantis presidency would solidify that shift among Latinos to the Republican Party. I think a DeSantis vice presidency would do that. And that would be that. I mean, if you think about it, with DeSantis coming in via Trump in 2024, that's that. The Democrat coalition effectively unravels. Latinos leave en masse. You already have white working class leaving en masse. The Labor Foundation was so important to the creation of the New Deal coalition in the 1930s. So they've left. Latinos have left. I mean, it's over. They're done. Independents are leaving, and they'll be destined to be a minority party for decades, provided that the GOP remains true to the ultra MAGA America First agenda. They start embracing the nonsense, the silliness of the rhino neocon. They're dead. They're dead meat. And I think more and more they'll recognize that more and more, obviously, after 2022 and 2024. That's for sure. So what is that agenda? And that's where we're getting to our Axios article. What is this agenda, this national, and I would argue, indeed, international, the internationalizing of the nationalist right? What is this political and economic and cultural agenda that promises to lay the foundation for a rule that will last throughout the rest of the 21st century, if this fourth turning cyclical theory has anything to say about it? That's exactly what these leftist journalists over at Axios are absolutely panicking over. They are panicking over what they're calling, this is the title of it, a radical plan for Trump's second term. This is an amazing report. It's based on 3 months of investigative journalism, talking to some of the closest aides to Trump in his inside circle, in his shadow government that's going on right now, as well as panicked Democrats and what they're seeing and what they're hearing about what Trump has planned for his second term. And obviously bringing up questions like this, you want to dive deeper. You're going to want to ask me something personal, related every week. I want to know your thoughts, all that good stuff. Don't forget that every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, you're always invited to join me in my exclusive Insiders Club live stream, where for an hour and a half, I answer your questions and we dive deep into topics, anything you like, totally free from any threat of censorship. We'd love to have you as a part of the Insiders Club. And all you need to do is just click on that link below, and you can join for less than the price of a cup of coffee each day. So make sure to click on that link in the description below to sign up. And I can't wait to see you live on Monday nights. You'll be with an awesome group of patriots. You're going to love it. All right, so let's see what the return of President Trump has in store for us in terms of Trump's second term. Now, according to this article by Axios, at the heart of what Trump has planned for his second term is implementing an executive order known as Schedule F. Now, again, I can't see you guys. I don't have the chat on. But how many people know what Schedule F, F as in Frank, is all about? This is an executive order that he already signed. It went into force in October of 2020. It was one of his last executive orders. And it got a lot of press when it came out. The press totally panicked over it, but obviously it got lost in all the chaos following November 3rd. What Schedule F does is it legally reassigns federal workers. So these are your bureaucrats in D.C. who comprise what we call the swamp, and particularly the deep state. Federal workers who are the ones who've been embedded in D.C. for the last decades, and who are the ones who really run the nation in the end, as we all found out, right? They're the ultra-leftist activists who control D.C. They radically influence policy. They're protected by the intelligence agencies, as well as make up many of those agencies, right? What Schedule F does, that Biden, of course, got rid of and that Trump would bring back, what Schedule F does is it legally reassigns these bureaucrats as what are called Schedule F employees, which in effect strips away all of their employment protections. We all know it's virtually impossible to fire a government bureaucrat. Well, that's precisely what this executive order would allow Trump to do. He would reassign these bureaucrats under a new legally recognized employment code that allows for mass firings. So pundits predicted that Trump, with this executive order, if he won a second term in November 2020, pundits were already panicking that Trump would end up firing literally tens of thousands of deep state bureaucrats. And this possibility alone had reportedly devastatingly chilling effects on government employees throughout the bureaucracy. A second-term Trump is their worst nightmare. Because not only would Trump fire tens of thousands of these ultra-left bureaucrats, but he would replace them with loyal ultra-MAGA patriots who would guarantee America First populism governing the nation for the foreseeable future. And to that end, Trump, according to this Axios report here, Trump has already begun to enlist solid conservative organizations who are charged with recruiting these ultra-MAGA replacements for all of these bureaucrats. Again, for Trump, it's not enough to simply, this isn't libertarianism, right? It's not enough to simply get rid of the tens of thousands of deep state bureaucrats, because obviously what can happen, right? Something could go wrong, another, Democrat nut could get in, and then they'll just go and replace them all with Democrat loyalists, as they've been doing now for decades. Trump believes you don't just fire the bureaucrats, you've got to transform the deep state. You've got to put in a kind of massive ultra-MAGA immune system inside the deep state to prevent ultra-leftists from ever getting back in power. And that's what these conservative organizations are already being tasked to do in terms of recruiting the most faithful ultra-MAGA loyalists to occupy those positions of power. So these are groups like the Center for Renewing America, the America First Policy Institute, and the Conservative Partnership Institute. So these are all very loyal pro-Trump organizations, conservative organizations that are recruiting as we speak, apparently, according to this report, people that Trump could use to plug in to the deep state to provide a kind of ultra-MAGA immune system to prevent it from ever going leftist again. Now, according to this Axios report, and again, I underline, it took over 3 months to prepare this report. They talked with over dozens and dozens of those closest to Trump, as well as Democrats who are absolutely freaking out over the very real potential for a Trump second term. As a matter of fact, there was a bill that got passed in the House that would prevent this executive order from ever being implemented, but it doesn't look like it's going to have any chance passing the Senate. Now, according to this report, Trump is totally and completely done with rhinos and establishment guys like Bill Barr and Mike Pence and Mitch McConnell. I mean, he's done. Trump considers all those guys the enemy at this point. They betrayed him. They clearly betrayed him, and he knows it. And he's prepared to go full animal on the administrative state and take down the permanent bureaucracy that governs the swamp. Now, of course, we'll see, but that was a major theme in this report. Trump is assembling a team of ultra-MAGA warriors that are prepared to take over D.C. once and for all. Sources close to the president have confirmed that he's going to go after the national security apparatus. They're going to clean house. That's the words they're using in the intelligence community and State Department. They're going to target every single woke general at the Defense Department. Bye-bye, Millie. And they're going to remove the top lawyers, or top layers, I should say, of the Justice Department and the FBI. Again, according to this report as well, Jared Kushner is out. He's no longer part of Trump's inner political circle. Same with Ivanka. They're both out. They're no longer part of Trump's political operation. Thank God for that. Kushner should never have been there in the first place. So obviously we'll keep an eye on very close eye on how things develop here. But so far, the takeaway from all this is it looks like a Trump-DeSantis dream team is a go. It's already been agreed to. And a Trump second term promises to make his first term look pale by comparison and establish an ultra-MAGA dominance that could rule way beyond DeSantis's two follow-up terms and extend well into the end of the century. It's pretty amazing stuff. Over to you guys. Tell me what you think. Let me get to our moderator here with your questions. I see them all coming in. By the way, just hey, this is good news, right? This channel is all about spreading the good news of a new conservative age rising in the midst of all the bumps and all the disappointments and all of the difficulties. Nevertheless, the wind's at our back. We're winning. They're coming crashing down. Italy's government is gone. They're going to have a nationalist populist party led by Giorgia Meloni and Matteo Salvini, the brothers of Italy, and Lega, as well as Forza Italia. It's going to be the first truly formal nationalist populist government in Western Europe. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So this good news needs to be spread, and one of the ways you can do that is to don some of our cool merch by clicking on the link below. Our graphic designer really does a great job. We have so many awesome Patriot designs. Never fail to start great conversations to help people think better so they can feel better. So make sure to click on that link below and get yourself. Oh, we've got our Christmas in July special. So if you buy 2 of T-shirts, you get 1 absolutely free. So it's a great gift. All right, guys. Let's see. Lynn Morrison, 2024 is a vote from me. There you go. Very good. Charles Turner Jr., Dr. Steve, what do you think about the proposed assault weapons ban that just passed the Judiciary Committee? It seems to just be for show, especially considering the Bruin decision and the failure in 94. That's right. You got it. And of course, the D.C. versus Heller that set the standard of it. Was that 2006, 2007, something like that? No, it's all for show. It means nothing. There's no such thing. We all know there's no such thing as assault weapons. They're the same. It's the same mechanics as a 9mm handgun. They're not going to. They just look scary, right? So they thought the first time there was a paper in the 1980s, a white paper was written by an ultra-liberal gun activist, gun control activist, who first coined the term assault weapon. And he coined that term specifically so as to try to turn the majority of the population against them. But he was going to do that with every gun. He would apply some new menacing term to eventually scrape away at our gun rights. It didn't work. We can use the term assault weapon all day long. More and more people realize there's no actual such thing. We don't even know what really constitutes an assault weapon, and so no, it's not going to pass the Senate. I mean, Manchin isn't going to go for anything like this, and so you're right. It's all for show. They're doing everything they can. J6, there's the reversal of Roe. Mass shootings. They're doing everything they can to try to turn the discussion and the concerns away from record inflations, people going broke at the pump, the southern border imploding, baby formula disappearing. They're doing, the basic political order unraveling around the world. They're doing everything they can to try to turn people's direction away from that. Sounder Siren 07, thank you for all your work, Dr. Steve. Thoughts on EO requiring Fed agencies to increase voter registration for the People Act via EO? Maybe. Yeah. The problem with these is that they don't determine who's actually coming out to vote. So they can try to. Democrats have been doing this for decades. Getting you to register to vote when you're getting your driver's license and things like that. They've been doing this for decades. But the problem is, in the end, if nobody likes you, nobody's going to vote for you. This is the problem. And what we've had now is we've had several elections since November of 2020. and they've virtually all gone our direction. Myra Flores being like one of the latest ones, with flipping a district that hasn't voted Republican in over a century, second most Latino dense population in the nation. So, I mean, they could try all these gimmicks, but in the end, no one's showing up to vote for them. That's just the problem they have. Branch Covidian, that's great. I love it. You're so cool. Why is Trump endorsing candidates in deep blue states like Illinois and Maryland? How well do you think these candidates will do in their respective general elections? We'll see with Illinois. I've got Maryland in my backyard. I'll be interviewing Dan Cox. I was supposed to interview him the other day, but he was so inundated with interview requests after he won and won in a blowout. I got to tell you, I mean, so we'll see with Maryland. Maryland is hard. Maryland is a Democrat-run deep blue state. And the problem is when you're running these guys who, like their governor is named Larry, I'm forgetting, he's so irrelevant. The problem's when you put these rhino Republicans in charge. It may be okay for people who live in Maryland because he's not going to raise your taxes as much. And, all they do is just put more or less, they tap the brakes for the left-wing onslaught, right? So that's what Pataki did in New York or Romney did in Massachusetts. They just tap brakes. They don't stop the left-wing assault. So it may be good for people in Maryland. Larry Hogan now, I'm thinking. It may be good for people in Maryland, but it sucks for the Republican Party nationally. Because if you think it through, these guys then get, like Larry Hogan, they get this national platform, and all they do is beat up on ultra MAGA patriots all day long. So I'd rather have an ultra MAGA patriot win the primaries in a very blue state like Illinois or Maryland, and just run a hardcore, awesome, galvanizing campaign that churns out more Republicans than ever and stops trying to flip Democrats and the like. Again, there are plenty of Democrats to flip because there are plenty of Democrats who hate all things woke. So the more woke the left gets, the easier it is to actually flip independents and more the moderate Democrats your way. Like, for example, what happened with Elon Musk voting for Myra Flores, for example, first Republican he's ever voted for because he thinks the Democrats have gotten too woke. This was a strategy that Glenn Youngkin did in Virginia that worked so well against Terry McAuliffe. He had Terry McAuliffe on his heels the last 3 weeks of the election. That's what you want to keep an eye on. He was behind, way behind by double digits leading up to the election. Then the last 3 weeks when people started really paying attention, they recognized. So McAuliffe basically wants transgender athletes. He wants all this weird CRT in our classrooms and all this sort of stuff. And Glenn Youngkin saying, no, I'll be your advocate. I'm not going to be an advocate for the teachers' unions. I'm not going to be an advocate for these bizarre sort of sports councils. I'm going to be your advocate. I'm going to advocate for you. And they went with him. Woke issues always split the left and unite the right. So, and Larry Hogan doesn't care about woke issues, right? Your typical rhino Republican who can, yes, because Democrats find him acceptable, who can win in these deep blue states the way Romney, for example, won Massachusetts, nevertheless then get a platform to absolutely bash in MSNBC-like fashion Trump and the ultra MAGA movement. So I say away with them, completely away with them. Let's keep running these awesome patriots, and let's see if we can split enough of the left's vote, unite enough of the right's vote, and even start taking over some blue states. So we'll see. That's my sense on that. Let's see. Hi, Q. Some pounds sterling. Thank you, sir. 4 years of Trump and 8 years of DeSantis. America gets a gold at it. Amen. Amen, brother. And let's hope Britain's politics can just recover from its paralysis. I mean, it's just absurd. It just doesn't matter who you put in. via the Tories or Labor, or God forbid your Social Democrats. I mean, they're just these puppets of Davos and your own British deep state. It's just you need a MAGA movement out there. MUGA movement, make Britain MUGA, make UK great again. Bukaluk, Buffalo, Dr. Steve, when or where can we see your axe shredding skills? Oh, love the videos, so thank you, sir. Yes, I've not picked up the guitar in a while. What I tend to do is I tend to play in little phases for a couple of weeks, get the calluses back in shape, polish the nails, all that sort of stuff, and then life gets in the way and I put it down. So forgive me. I thank you for that encouragement. Maybe that's what I'll do after my live stream today. I'll have a little lunch and I'll pick up do a little guitar playing. So hopefully we'll have something for you, maybe around Christmas time. That would be really nice to do some Christmas songs together. Let's see. Sam, Isam, no comment, but gift. Thank you so much. Kyle Beckman, Dr. Steve, Dr. Turley, you are amazing. Well, thank you, sir. So are you. It's great being part of the Ultra MAGA movement. We are fellow deplorables, right? Keep it up. I think President Trump's Schedule F would need to include the repeal of the Pendleton Act, so Trump needs an Ultra MAGA Congress to repeal the Pendleton Act to make widespread firearms. He should have one. Everyone's talking about now a 1994 Gingrich size revolution, or 2010 when John Boehner ironically ended up becoming speaker. But those were massive shifts of power. So hopefully we'll see precisely that as well in 2024. Larry Whitaker, go Spidey go, land that ticket. Amen. Amen. Tom Greer, thanks for being a true patriot. Dr. Steve, great job. Thank you, guys. Thanks for all these wonderful comments. They mean so much. You know, when we did our movie out in Lancaster last weekend, we're getting Philadelphia Inquirer, even Reuters showed up. They're giving us all this crap. They're calling us all these names, and they're being so goofy and stupid. I mean, you laugh at it. That's what you just have to do, because remember, these people don't know what a woman is, and then suddenly they are... they're inerrant experts on what a fascist is. It's really fascinating. If a woman could be fluid, why can't fascists be fluid? It's kind of, it's interesting how they've set the terms of the game. And it's just so cool to be among friends. I really appreciate that. When you're in the belly of the beast, you get a lot of hits. So you guys are the best. Thank you so much. Let's see. Mark Volker, to get rid of the deep state, the Fed must be destroyed, and we must return to gold and silver as circulating money. The Fed is the great engine of corruption that powers the deep state. Mark, I am 100% behind you on that. I agree with you 1,000%. I think the central banking, I mean, just look at the way central banking in many ways led to the collapse of Sri Lanka. It's happening in Panama right now. I mean, these central banks have way too much power. And yes, they are behind the ability for the deep state to launch all kinds of wars around the world and do all kinds of artificial things it could never do if it was bound, if it was limited, if it was bordered, right? That's the thing that Trump stood for, that the globalists hated, by something like the objective value of gold and silver. That's absolutely correct. I think you're right on. And I'm a big fan of gold and silver. Love it. Classical Austrian economics. Mike McCullum, thank you, sir. Ian Markey, great to catch you. We need a Constitution amendment protecting fossil fuel and to force term limits. What do you think? I think that sounds great. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely term limits. You see like the Pelosi's and the kind of corruption that they amass there. It's become a business model. Once you're elected, you have a 90% chance of being reelected. And so there's basically some predictability there that big money can tap into and exploit for its own purposes, i.e. Hunter. I think you're right on. The average income of your typical congressman today is $900,000 a year. Your average income among senators, $3 million a year. They've become, they're an oligarchy. They've become totally removed from the concerns of the people. And I think term limits would be an excellent way of being able to shatter that kind of gap that exists between the permanent political class and the people. And protecting fossil fuels, absolutely. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how you would do that with a constitutional amendment, right? It needs 2/3 states to ratify it. So you get lots of the, coal-producing states, mid-America states, all for it. The coastal elites will probably all shoot it down, right? That'd be interesting. Interesting one to think through. Very good. Appreciate that. Mitchell Ryan, what do you think of the Democrats funding GOP candidates? Again, well, I've read about it, and I just think it's going to come back to bite them. Again, they're not. Remember, Democrats aren't in touch with reality. I mean, we all know that, but we have to remind ourselves of that. Democrats are not in touch with reality. They think the MAGA movement is a loser because they read the New York Times, they read the Washington Post, but they're not looking at the elections. Again, we've got to look at the elections that have been happening since November of 2020, and we have been cleaning up. MAGA movement is stronger than ever. The MAGA movement is just clobbering not just Democrats, but also the rhino Republicans. Generally speaking, you have exceptions here or there. But so it's just going to come back to bite them. They're living in another world. Nikki Cat Lover, any thoughts about this Jan 6 sham trial? Do you think they'll indict Trump? I don't. Already the chairman has said they're not going to do it. They just don't have that authority. But it is certainly a sham trial. It's an illegitimate. I like how you say trial. I like how you say, right. It's supposed to be a committee. And the committee is supposed to use what's known as the adversarial process to arrive at truth. That's how our legal system is structured. You have the prosecution and you have the defense. And both sides have equal time and equal say in being able to present their sides. And then by hearing the adversarial dialectic going back and forth, we can arrive at the truth. The truth is certainly not fully on the side of the prosecution. The truth is not fully on the side of the defense. So what we can do is we can put them together and arrive at a synthesis and the best sense of what's really happening here. Nancy Pelosi handpicked this committee, including the two pathetic Republicans that are on it, for the purpose of prosecuting Trump. And so the conclusion was already reached. All you need now is to find something to justify the conclusion. It's just an extension of cancel culture. That's all it is. And that's the pattern of cancel culture. Democrats don't try to cancel us because we're fascists. We're fascists because Democrats first want to cancel us. You can't garner sympathy for trying to cancel a virtuous grandmother. You can't garner sympathy for trying to cancel, a kindergartner playing in a sandbox. The only way you can supposedly garner sympathy is, or better, to provoke cowardice, particularly among those who make decisions, is by trying to convince them that if they don't cancel you, they are on the side of evil. They are on the side of Nazis. They're on the side of fascists and supremacists and all this sort of nonsense. So they first want to cancel, then the reasons for the canceling comes next. And that's what they're doing here. They first want to cancel Trump, and now, because the two sham impeachments didn't do it, so now they're hoping this, three times the charm. They're hoping this failed J6 committee would do it. And the end result is no. I don't think it's going to affect Trump at all. If anything, it's strengthened his support because everyone sees what a pathetic kangaroo court it actually is. And then the only two Republicans that are on there won't even be here in January of 2023. Adam Kinzinger knows he's got no chance of being reelected, so he's retiring. And then Cheney, I mean, what do you even say? I mean, she's begging Democrats in Wyoming to come out and vote, switch over temporarily to vote in the primaries because she knows that's the only way she can win. Unfortunately, one of Wyoming's own senators came out and said, "Sorry, Liz, there aren't enough Democrats in Wyoming for you to win. You're that far behind Harriet. What is that? I forget her last name. Hegeman. I'm forgetting her Trump endorsed MAGA opponent. So anyway." She's done. So in the end, Trump comes out stronger, and the two Republican rhinos end up losing their careers, political careers. News. I thought they keep up the great work. I thought the president and vice president can't come from the same state. I've heard that before. Mike McCullum is asking. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm finding where I am. So Live Freedom, keep up the good work. Dr. Turley, thank you so much, man. Mike McCullum, I thought the president and the vice president couldn't come from the same state. That'll be interesting. We'll have to see how that works out. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I don't think that's an issue. We'll see. That tricky dude, California, this was one of the best news days ever. Can you explain more detail how the new Italian government will look like? I'm excited for Italy. Draghi is one of the worst globalist leaders. Absolutely. Okay, so you've got three right-wing parties. One that's more center-right, that's Forza Italia. So that's Silvio Berlusconi's party. He's a huge media mogul, billionaire media mogul, and he was prime minister for a while, and it did well, and it ruled, but it was still very globalist. It was rhino-y, or very Tory-like. I was going to say Tory-y, but as very Boris Johnson Tory-like. Talks a good game, but in the end, they're all just like the French Republicans, for example. And then over the last decade, two nationalist populist parties, relatively new parties, rose to prominence. Matteo Salvini's Lega Party, which for a while was getting 30% approval, which is huge in Italian politics. And then the Brothers of Italy, led by Giorgia Meloni. And just punch in Giorgia Meloni on YouTube if you want to see a firebrand. She's like, 4'11", and she gets on the stage and she delivers a stump speech that will, if you see the English translation, it will put you on fire. Wait till you see the way the crowd reacts when she speaks. It's unbelievable. She seems poised to be the next prime minister, because the Brothers of Italy, which are even more conservative than Lega, the Brothers of Italy, are just taking Italy by storm. They're going nuts. So they seem to be in first place in all the polls. Then come the Social Democrats, Renzi and all those guys. They mean nothing. And then Lega, and then Forza Italia. Forza Italia comes in down at the bottom, but all you need is 40% for a governing majority, and you have to come in first place. Whoever comes in first place gets to decide what the coalition will be. And so if it looks like the nationalist populist right is going to have no problem getting that over 40%, and Italy will be the first official Western nation to have a real bona fide nationalist populist, like ultra MAGA government. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We were with Salvini and Meloni in Verona back in 2019 at the World Congress of Families. They're amazing. They're conservative from top to bottom. Absolutely love them. So there you go. Yeah, really exciting. So yeah, Draghi wasn't even elected. They call it a technical government. Their technical government's a joke. It's basically run by Davos when all is said and done. Joey Bakula, what makes you think Trump is going to get a fair shake this time around in voting results? Thanks for all you do. No, I'm with you, Joey. It's not November 2nd, 2020. I mean, now you do have and when all was said and done, the shenanigans that we're concerned about come down to 5 states, more or less. And already 3 of those 5 have cleaned up their election security massively, absolutely massively. So I don't think, even Pennsylvania's banned Zuckerbucks. Wisconsin has banned ballot harvesting and drop-off boxes. So it's just, they're not going to be, the Wisconsin Supreme Court basically came out, and said that what happened on November 3rd, 2020 in Wisconsin with mail-in ballots was illegal. All right, that was an illegitimate vote. They came out and said they're not doing anything about it, obviously, but they came out and said that. So Wisconsin's not going to do it again. Arizona's not going to do it again. Georgia's not going to do it again. And that's it. That's all you need when all's said and done. So I think we're okay. But as Mastriano's saying, we need tens of thousands of patriots out there. Mastriano talking about it in the Pennsylvania election coming up. We need tens of thousands of patriots implementing Steve Bannon's precinct strategy that works so brilliantly with Glenn Youngkin. So that's what we need to do. We need to be auditing the vote as it's coming in from the very moment a mail-in ballot starts. The mail-in ballot voting starts. From that very moment, the chain of custody has to be verified at every level for immediately by patriots, and then we should be okay. We should be okay. We'll see, but we should be okay. I think they've really. There's been some very, very impressive. I mean, DeSantis has even appointed a special police force into patrolling and enforcing election law in Florida. Florida's going so deep red, it's going to make our heads spin. Florida and Texas are our California combined. They are solid now, with Ohio and Iowa too, both voting MAGA, ultra MAGA by 10 points twice. It's pretty impressive. And again, he who wins Ohio and Florida wins the presidential election. It's been that way since 1865, except for 2020. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So we should be okay. We should be all right. So we'll see. Again, if we're not, that's when we're going to have some real serious discussions about what's going on here. I mean, we're already having them, but that's obviously something. When we've tried everything and it still doesn't work, that's going to be a whole nother story. All right. Raven, Writings Desk. I love that. I'm not sure if I believe the whole Joe has cancer ordeal thoughts. Yes, I don't think he has cancer. I think he has dementia. That's basically how Tucker Carlson put it. Wolalos, Dr. Steve, do you think Russia and China are part of the White Hat's plan to get rid of the deep state? Okay, so again, it's complicated because you're dealing with several layers of things going on at the same time. Obviously, when you're saying that a nation or a combination of nations are wearing the white hats in one context doesn't mean that you're saying they wear the white hat in all contexts. That's the complicated thing with geopolitical analysis. So yes, for me, I've been asked this before. Russia and China are in a very real sense wearing the white hat when it comes to bringing down the Davos crowd, as I understand it. When it comes to bringing down the Davos crowd, when it comes to bring down the dolts and the deep state in D.C. and the bullies in Brussels and the way they run the world order, Russia, India, and China. I wouldn't just label China. India and China, and increasingly Turkey, interestingly enough. You're right, the neo-Ottoman sort of civilizational Turkey that's been rising over the last decade with Erdogan. They are a huge challenge. But it's also populists too. It's the populist movements going on throughout Western and Eastern Europe, the United States and Canada, the Freedom Convoy movements and like those, and in Latin America, particularly put in Bolsonaro in Brazil, the populist movements are astonishing, but they're not the only ones. Although you could see Putin as having this populist appeal because he's got an 80% approval rating. And then China has it was originally Marxist, but they're more and more morphing it into sort of a Confucian mandate of heaven structure, political structure, which is very, very interesting. So all of that's to say is, yes, I do see Russia, neo-Orthodox Russia, neo-Confucian China, neo-Hindu India, neo sort of Ottoman Turkey. I see all of them as being major, major forces in pushing back against the bullies in Brussels and the devils at Davos and the dolts in D.C. Yes, no question. That does not mean, and I have to be very clear because a lot of people don't get this, that does not mean that everything those governments do has a white hat to it, right? They could be great in one thing and they could be horrible in another thing, right? It's just like life, right? So you may be a great employee but a terrible father. So it just depends on how you're looking. But from that geopolitical vantage point, I think you're on with that. I should just click on these. Steve Greer, what are your thoughts on Texas secession? you have succession, but I think you mean secession, and how that would change the Trump-DeSantis. I don't think Texas is going to secede if they're winning. That was a very interesting leftist article that came out. Why would Texas secede if it's winning? If it's, crushing Roe v. Wade, if it's going to crush the deep state? Just turn the United States into Texas. That's basically what you're doing. So we'll have to see. Now, if Texas secedes, all bets are off. We're not even really talking about Trump-DeSantis kind of thing. I mean, if Texas secedes, all bets are off. I mean, the nation as a whole it'll be like, in many ways, like what happened with Brexit. Or even worse, far more significant. I take that back. Far more significant than Brexit. I mean, we'll be talking about the very survival of the United States after that. There's just no question there. So, AKC, God bless you. Turley, thanks for your hard work. God bless you, sir. Wololos, you're back. You think the communist leaders taking South America is a real danger to the United States? I don't think it's a danger to the United States. It is a sad form of what's technically known as re-territorialization going on in South America. I'm assuming you're talking about the latest Colombian elections. It is sad. I thought Bolsonaro was going to be the new standard bearer for Latin America, and instead what we're seeing these radical socialists pop up. But again, ironically, it's a strange way of them trying to stick it to the current world order, the same way Venezuela is. So that's why Russia and Venezuela are very, very close right now. So, but it's sad. I mean, their people are going to starve and suffer as a result of it. It's very, very sad. Steve Greer, already got yours. Joining your talk late. I saw that Robert Barnes reported Trump-DeSantis ticket was set. Has anyone else confirmed this? Would love to see. Have not seen genuine draft. Had not seen the confirmation yet. I love Robert Barnes is pretty good. He's a betting man. I don't know if you know. He's very good with odds, and so so when I explained it, I in detail explained how it was on the Alex Jones show, and here's what he's saying, and he gave the rationale for the agreement, and it makes total sense. It makes total sense. It puts DeSantis as literally the unchallengeable candidate for 2028. That's what a Trump-DeSantis. Trump can only run for one term, and that sets up DeSantis immediately as the de facto candidate of 2028. It should be brilliant. So, David Rushing, happy Friday. Dr. Steve, happy Friday to you too, sir. And the God Pill, hey, people, stop wasting your time on the fake news to distract you from what's really happening since February 2022. Realty retail stores. I do not know what you're trying to say there. sorry to there. Steve L. Trump DeSantis 2024. It's a dream ticket. It's gonna unite the party. I mean, because everyone loves DeSantis. We all know Trump is controversial, mean tweets and all. He's very controversial for a lot of Republicans and independents and so on. DeSantis isn't. It's going to unite the ticket. It's going to be fantastic. Absolutely amazing. Visual Vortex, thanks for all you're doing, Dr. Steve. Have you heard of an organization called Tactical Civics? I highly recommend checking them out if you get a chance. Great constitutional populist movement. I do not know them, but that is great. If they are what you are claiming, then absolutely, I'd be happy to give them a big shout out and see what they do. Do you think, let's see, Lit123, do you think Russia was really consecrated to Mary's Immaculate Heart? Oh, okay, so you're talking about the prophecies. Yeah, it depends how you interpret it. So if you talk about the errors, right, if I recall the actual term, the errors of Russia will be corrected. Some of the more hardcore Catholic will say it's orthodoxy that needs to be corrected. But as I understand the majority of the view, and particularly among Orthodox who fully see that prophecy as absolutely legitimate, they saw it as the communism, the atheism, and Orthodoxy, Russian Orthodoxy has Mary is central to Russian Orthodox devotion, Eastern Orthodox devotion in general. She is the new Eve. She is the embodiment of paradise restored. it's through virginity that we find new birth. These amazing, mind-blowing stuff. And so Russia has gone through a genuine Christian conversion, a genuine Christian revival, according to the Journal Scientific Study of Religion 2012 report. They used about an 8-fold taxonomy for determining the extent to which Christianity was really surging in society and in people's lives. And they determined that Russia was going through a genuine Christian revival. And, of course, the revival of Russian Orthodoxy and Mary's devotion is part of that. So, very good. So I would say yes in that sense. All right, guys, it looks like that's it. I think I might have one more here. Oh, my, we've already gone an hour. Look, you guys are awesome. I'm so excited. I think that might be it. Josh, it's saying Josh is typing. I'll give Josh a little bit here, but make sure. We do. I want to get everybody there, and that is that tricky dude. Do you think China's bank and real estate collapses will put a damper on their potential for military aggression? Yeah, I think so. Some would argue it's the opposite. The military aggression happens as a deflection from their economic problems. There, no question. Right now, President Xi is in a serious bind. If he wants to see the Politburo renew his term, he is going to have to get China back in order. And the zero COVID policy has been a disaster, and just they've had a number of economic missteps. And so we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what happens there. And military aggression, so far, I mean, remember, China's army is an untried army. That's something to keep in mind. They're huge, no question about it. We don't want to try them. But so military theorists argue that it's not just numbers, it's also experience. And what makes like the Russian military so impressive and the United States military so impressive is that it's been tried. We've been put into hot conflicts over and over and over again. So those are the real war games that you're able to learn from, like elections, for example. It's not just polls, but elections. And right now, China's military is basically a polled military. There's potential for what it can do, but we don't actually know what it can do because it hasn't been tried. So that's something to keep in mind as well in terms of any kind of grandiosity they might have for getting. And to keep in mind, too, I think China, in embracing the civilization state model, has given up the sense of trying to control the world. I don't think they're trying. They were, I think, for a while. The Belt and Road Initiative was an attempt to try to reconfigure the world order around Beijing, whereas now I think they simply are happy with reconstituting the Sinosphere around Beijing, with China being the core state for all Asian concerns and interests. And just like the United States is becoming sort of the de facto, or has become the de facto core state for all Western concerns and issues and the like. And the way Russia is becoming the core state for all Slavic issues and so on. So I don't think they're interested in taking over the world. That's my assessment. I think they're interested in taking over a world, but not the world. And so that would itself damper their military exploits. And Nubian Davis, Dr. Steve, love your videos. January 21st, 2024. The very 2025, I think you mean 2025, right? The very first act that needs to happen is at least 30,000 government-embedded employees must be fired. Nothing else works while fighting an enemy in your own lines. Amen. And that's apparently, according to Axios, that's exactly what Trump is going to do. It's going to be awesome. All right, guys. Great chatting with you. Amazing week as always. Love you guys. Keep up the great work. Keep up the great fight. Faith, family, and freedom. That's what we're all about. All right, guys. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend. See you next week.